Aston Martin says this new Vantage is designed to put the brand back where it belongs. And by that, it means in the same conversation as Lamborghini, McLaren and Ferrari when it comes to delivering the ultimate in performance-focused supercars, which is why everything, and I mean everything on this new Vantage, has been tightened, tuned or turned way the hell up in the pursuit of that performance. And the result, the brand says, is a vehicle that delivers a near telepathic connection between car and driver. Or at least that's the promise. So how does the 2024 Vantage stack up in this battle for supercar supremacy? I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of looking forward to finding out.
Let's start with the big number, and that is the 410 grand you'll need to park the new Vantage on your driveway. Interestingly, I was also on the launch of the last gen Vantage way back in 2018, and that one was just under 300 grand. So that's quite the jump. Anyway, for that spend, you get a whole bunch of improved performance, obviously, but also quite a bit in terms of cabin tech and comfort. This isn't a stripped-back supercar, and that's a good thing, I reckon. It starts outside with 21-inch 5-spoke forged wheels wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport rubber. There's Matrix LED headlights and LED taillights too. In the cabin, there's a 10.25-inch central screen with Apple CarPlay, a second 10.25-inch screen in front of the driver, an 11-speaker stereo and wireless phone charging.
So the first thing you'll notice at the front is this very big grille, which I now know is exactly 38% bigger than the one on the previous generation car. It sucks in these great big lungfuls of air to keep the engine humming. That air's got to go somewhere, so that's where these bonnet vents come into play. The headlight cluster's there new too, by the way. The 21-inch alloy wheels are wrapped in performance rubber, and if you'll join me at the back, I still really love these super swollen haunches here at the rear tyre. And at the very back, you'll find a very new and very loud quad exhaust system. Now, critically in this interior, there's no Mercedes-Benz hand-me-down bits and bobs, which there were in the previous generation Vantage. This is all Aston Martin, and I've got to say, it all feels really nice. These are the optional race seats, and actually they're surprisingly comfortable, and all the tech functions pretty well as well, and they've kept manual dials for things like temperature and volume control, and even the fan speed on the aircon, which is always a plus in my book. Elsewhere though, it does feel driver focused and really well put together.
You'll be shocked to hear that Aston Martin didn't dedicate too much of its limited track time to extolling the practicality perks of its new Vantage, mostly because there simply aren't that many of them. But the most obvious one, I think, is that most of the people in the market for a 400k plus vehicle in this category are likely to be, well, of a certain vintage. And it's for these people that the more traditional layout of the Vantage will no doubt appeal. See, the engine is up front and the doors open in the usual fashion, making getting in and out of the cabin easy and free of the human origami antics sometimes required to climb out of a scissor door supercar. But there have been practical improvements made to the performance here too. There's 30% more power, 15% more torque, new cooling, better aerodynamics, retuned suspension and anti-roll tech, new brake booster tuning, more body stiffness, it goes on.
So the 4-litre twin-turbocharged V8 is still borrowed from Mercedes-AMG, but this is the new gen unit, making 489 kilowatts and 800 newton meters. It's fed through an 8-speed ZF automatic and sent to the rear tyres. Now 100 kilometers an hour, that takes 3.5 seconds, and the flying top speed is around 325 kilometers an hour.
There's the official figure, which is 12.1 litres per 100 kilometers on the combined cycle, and then there's the real world figure. It's not really fair to judge fuel use when you've just stepped off a racetrack, but rest assured it was a large number, which is to be expected really. The Aston's 73-litre fuel tank prefers 98 RON fuel.
So we know all the headline numbers. There's 489 kilowatts, 800 newton meters, a sprint to 100 in 3.5 seconds and a top speed of around 325 kilometers an hour. But Aston Martin makes the point that this car needs to go way beyond those headline numbers. They're trying to capture something a little bit harder to quantify. They're looking for engagement, excitement, emotion. And I can tell you that the Vantage delivers on all three of those. Basically, everything in this vehicle has been stiffened, tuned, or dialed right up to deliver more power, better cornering, better braking, improve the overall package, with that mission of trying to be considered among the greats of drivers' cars, you know, with Ferrari and McLaren and brands like that. And this does feel like a significant step in that direction because it is plenty fun. So yeah, the power is immense, the acceleration is tremendous, but because of your connection with the car, it doesn't feel intimidating, it feels manageable. A bit like you're wearing that Thanos glove, or I guess more accurately, whatever it was that Thanos wore as shoes, with all the power in the universe attached to your right foot. So that exhaust with its quad exit has been tuned to be louder and more aggressive than before, and I can tell you it is that. And I especially love the traction control system, which is tuned to be as minimalist as possible, intervening only when it has to, and even then only in the tiniest bit when it feels like things are about to get crashy. And if that's not specialist enough for you, you can also dial it up or down. There are 9 distinct levels of traction control in this car, 9 being the maximum, and 1 being described as Aston Martin as be prepared to buy new tyres. So you know what that means. But there is magic in the theatre of this car. It's exciting, it's engaging, it's everything that a driver-focused supercar should be. And if this is the new direction for Aston Martin to produce better and better driver cars, I can tell you the Vantage feels like a very big step in the right direction. All right, we're going to try and get VMAX on this back straight here. So we'll take the brakes, we'll right into the corner. You can probably hear the tyres moving a little bit. Take a bit of curb on the way out. Okay, so that is 200, 220, 230, 240, 250, 255 before my courage runs out. Those carbon brakes grip so nicely. There was actually a fair bit more room there before I had to brake, I think. Just washes off speed so effectively. But you can always make up for lost time with that epic acceleration. I'm telling you, you will not get tired of doing laps in this car. So with all that being said, I'm kind of struggling to classify this car a little bit. Maybe it's because of where the engine is and the kind of more traditional layout, or perhaps because the doors open normally, or that the acceleration isn't quite as ferocious, as painful as it can be in some supercars. It doesn't feel quite as bonkers as some of the cars in that category. But equally, it does kind of feel like a car that you could pretty comfortably and easily do some long distance touring in. It's kind of somewhere, I guess, between a very aggressive Grand Tourer and a track day special, without much in the way of compromise in either of those two worlds, to be honest.
You'll never see a Vantage crash tested by ANCAP, but it does arrive with a solid safety package. There are front and side airbags, plus a heap of active safety stuff like AEB, forward collision warning, adaptive cruise, lane keep assist, lane departure warning, lane change assist with centering, and front and rear cross traffic alert. Aston Martins in Australia are covered by a 3-year unlimited kilometre warranty, but you can extend that for 1 or 2 years at a price, and you'll be visiting the service centre annually.
I can't quite figure out if it's a surprisingly comfortable race car or a kind of bonkers Grand Tourer, but actually it's that best of both worlds positioning that makes a car like the Vantage so appealing. Think of it as like a supercar for proper grown-ups, and one that you don't need to grunt and groan to extract yourself from. Now remember, to read my full review on this car and reviews on all of its rivals, head over to carsguide.com.au.